listening to Sports Radio Detroit.
Welcome to Grave Discussions. I am one half of your hosts with the ghosts, Barnabas.
And I am the other half, Samael. We decided to not pick a particular movie for this episode, and this episode is entitled Too Much of a Good Thing. The main discussion is going to be about, reboots, adaptations, like book adaptations or basically that's it. And we're going to discuss what the fuck is going on. Mm-hmm. Do they suck? Are they good? And why are they being made? And we're going to go in depth in all of that later. But for now, let's get to it with some news.
Oh yeah, episode 94. Before we get to the news, however, always got to give a shout out to our favorite gracious host network, Sports Radio Detroit.
Yes, and you can always find them on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Just look up SRD Sports Radio Detroit. That's SRD Sports Radio Detroit, not Detroit Sports Radio. And you can also check them out on sportsradiodetroit.com.
Oh yeah, if you do go to the website, guys, there's also a cool little place you could go buy some merch. We got a cool little thing going on with Fanatics. If you're into Detroit sports, buy some merch, help us out. Help yourself out. And yeah, check out all the other awesome podcasts as well. So let's dive right into the news now. And we've got some interesting announcements that are actually kind of relevant to what we're going to be talking about in our main discussion today. This first one has a name that I like.
Yes.
But I don't know necessarily if I like the announcement. So what's going on?
So, guess what's being rebooted, speaking of? Mm-hmm. Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Mr. Fede Alvarez. Mm-hmm. You might know him from Evil Dead. And he's going to be directing this. And I don't know what to make of this.
Yeah, so
I don't know. Because Texas Chainsaw Massacre has so many different timelines. So you got the original timeline in which Texas Chainsaw 3D is attached to that one. And then you got the other timeline, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and then what's the second one?
One of them was the new, wasn't it the new something?
The beginning.
Yeah.
And then they had Leatherface,
mm-hmm.
which I don't know which timeline that belongs to. I guess because his last name was it Hewitt in that one? Or was it Sawyer?
What was it originally? Wasn't it
Bubba
originally Sawyer?
Yeah.
It was Hewitt in, God, I don't remember now.
See, that's what I don't like. You're confusing people who literally have been watching this as kids. And sure, people can be like, oh, it's so easy to get caught up. But dude, we got Texas Chainsaw, right? 3D, that was the name of it. But in some places, they leave out the 3D, so you'll see Texas Chainsaw, and you're like, oh, this is the new one. And then it's like, no, it's not. It's the shitty one. With fucking Trey Songz.
Oh god, yeah. Was that the one with Alexandria Daddario or whatever?
Yeah,
she was the only good part.
The 3D movie. I went to go see.
I bought that movie.
By the way, I found off topic, including this movie. I found almost all of my movie tickets that I haven't thrown out that I've had since 2011.
Oh wow!
So I have opening night for Insidious, opening night for Sinister, opening night for this Texas Chainsaw 3D. And literally every movie from that era you can imagine.
Wow!
I just had to share that with you.
Yeah, I collect mine too. I've been collecting them for a little while, so I'll bring them by one time.
I'm done.
And we can compare our ticket collections like a bunch of nerds.
We're not nerds. We're actually cool people. But I don't know, dude. Texas Chainsaw Massacre just has so many timelines, and this is gonna go into the discussion. Did it really add to it or change it by making him from? He was Bubba Sawyer originally,
right?
And then Thomas Hewitt. they changed him in the remake series.
Yeah.
I don't think. Imagine if they're like, all right, we're making a Halloween remake, right? And then when Michael Myers shows up on the screen, they're like, by God, it's William Frederick. You'd be like, who the fuck is William Frederick? Where's Michael Myers?
Yeah, no, I agree completely. I mean, I'm sure there's a reasoning for it. I forget if there is, but I think one important thing in this article is that we're not actually completely sure yet what this new story is going to be.
I heard it's going to be like super like depressing.
Yeah, it's
it's one of those hopeless movies.
The article says it's so depraved.
Yeah.
I mean, Fede Alvarez is great actually. Evil Dead and Don't Breathe were both good, and I think he has the chops to make something really like fucked up and brutal. So I'm sure we'll see that anyway, since the original movie was crazy. But it does say it might be a new take, but this line also says reboot. But anyway, this article specifically,
which series though, the Thomas Hewitt or the fucking
no idea. But the new article actually is about a director and writer announcement, and Ryan and Andy Tohill, I don't know if that's how you pronounce their name, but there it is, who did The Dig. I think there might be Irish directors, because that was an Irish movie, will be directing, and then it'll be written by Chris Thomas Devlin. So there's that. But yeah, it doesn't really specify what they're going to be rebooting or doing with it, but that's...
Fede Alvarez is just producing it?
Yeah.
Okay, so...
That makes me less interested, but...
Yeah, like when it says... Like, even when something says produced by Sam Raimi, you know, it's not like it's a Sam Raimi movie, so sometimes you'll watch it and you'll be like, why would they attach his name to this?
Or even like Jordan Peele's Candyman, but I digress. But anyway, so the last paragraph here says it might be reportedly hoping to kickstart a new franchise, and I mean legendary, with this one, potentially one that's in some way connected to the original classic. So, who knows? But, you know, this...
Sawyer's then, cool. I'm
most
down.
likely.
Okay.
So, but this does bring up again, you know, we've seen this story so many times. Mm-hmm. So let's save that thought for the main discussion, and we'll move on here. But something to think about, because again, TCM, I think if you like horror, you already know the TCM story.
Oh yeah.
So now, however, this one just made me chuckle, so I wanted to put it in.
Oh yeah, this was great. I was like, wait, why is this in here? But I'm like, this has value to it. This really does. And I'm probably gonna. I probably kind of want to watch it.
I think really I might enjoy it. Like, just imagine some popcorn with this movie. So, guys, Universal, as we all know, fucking bombed their Dark Universe idea. The Mummy was apparently garbage. And anyway, those sucked. So now they've got some new movies like The Invisible Man coming out that look pretty good. They're just giving it to, you know, filmmakers who they think are gonna do it justice, which I can respect. But now they're doing a Monster Mash movie.
Yes. But it's a musical.
It is gonna be a musical, which makes sense. You know, and the article states it doesn't specifically know like if the title of the movie is just coming from the song or if that's gonna be kind of like part of it. I don't know. But it's a musical.
I don't care. I'm gonna watch it. If they told me like, I mean, bro, Monster Mash. Come on.
Yeah, what do I do without Mash?
Imagine if they did the fucking Alice Cooper, Man Behind the Mask, the musical. It would be part 6, Friday the 13th, the musical. I would check that out.
Anything with Alice Cooper in it is horror.
Yeah,
that man is terrifying.
He is, but he's also a goat.
But he's also awesome. Yeah. No, but this should be cool. This one is being directed by Matt Stowski or however his name is pronounced, who will be the director. He did Side Effects as well. It's going to be written by Will Widger. And then apparently the director is also a Grammy-nominated music video director.
See?
I don't know who he's...
That's all we're getting.
Yeah, man. Dude, I just want like... it was like a hot... Like, what if the baby just comes in and just does does some bars?
He does some bars like to Monster Mash? Like, what monster would they dress him as?
Frankenstein.
That would be sick.
Or Frankenstein's monster, I'm sorry.
That would be sick.
I just think it would be funny. I don't know.
I think it would be too. Just to piss off a bunch of white people too. Because, they're like, why is Frankenstein black? Like, why do you give a fuck? What's wrong with you? What is wrong with people?
Yeah, no, I don't know. I mean, I think, honestly, I was just imagining him, like, just coming as himself. I don't know why. That would just be funny.
Just a baby in the musical?
Just a baby surrounded by, like, Frankenstein's monster, Dracula, the Bride of Frankenstein.
That would be fucking awesome.
That would be hilarious. And, and they all, like, join in. And then...
He brings in the Jabberwockies.
No, because you've seen the video of Bop or whatever.
Yeah.
So maybe one of the brides of Dracula comes in and does that handstand and starts like shaking her ass or something. That would be great.
I'm down.
That would be so good.
You're like throwing out these fucking golden ideas.
Dude, I know we always have great ideas.
This is why, guys, when you think of stuff, you need to be under the influence of something.
I mean, yeah.
Everyone's over 18 that listens to us. I hope so.
I hope so. So yeah, there's not really any more information here on Monster Mash yet. But
I'm pretty excited.
It should be cool. I mean, I just hope it's fun. Like that's what it seems like they're going for. If it's like if it's like Sweeney Todd or some shit like that, that would be very interesting. But it would just be like the Monster Squad musical, basically. I don't know. I'm interested to like hear more about it.
Speaking of which, I still have my original Sweeney Todd on VHS.
Oh. VHS?
Yeah.
What the fuck? I didn't realize that movie came out so long ago.
The original.
Sweeney? Oh, so not the
Demon Barber of Fleet Street.
The Johnny Depp one.
There was one
one before that?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know that actually.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
I didn't even know until I was looking through my old collection. I was like, Sweeney Todd?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Well, there you go. I learned something today, so...
I learned something this week.
Great. Well, let's move on from that, guys. This last news article is not like the biggest announcement ever, but we've got a new Chucky TV series coming out, officially picked up by Sci-Fi, and we got confirmation that Jennifer Tilly was coming back. So that's pretty much the news, but that's...
And someone else is helping Don Mancini. Do you remember who?
I could probably find out.
Nick Antosca from Channel
Yes,
Zero.
Nick
Dog.
Antosca, yeah.
I read that earlier today, like earlier, as in the morning, as in right before I went to bed. And I don't know, I've seen like a few episodes of Channel Zero, and like it's a really serious, it's like a genre TV show, It's not like Stranger Things, dramatic, and it's like horror, like to a T. Even when there's nothing horror happening, music, cinematography, like the tension is all there. So I don't know how those skills would translate into making Chucky, because Chucky is usually kind of been funny nowadays. But if you pay attention to 1 and 2, I mean, those were horror movies. Part 3 was still horror, but as soon as we got to Bride of Chucky and Seed of Chucky, everything was comedy.
Those movies went straight into like the Freddy parts, kind of 3, I guess, and so on. Territory for sure. He was always kind of funny and vulgar and shit. Well, he was like almost unintentionally funny in the first one. He was like, "You bitch," he was like being serious. But it was funny as fuck,
Yeah, it was, because it's a fucking doll.
Yeah.
But now they're like, dolls, let's make them funny all the time.
Yeah.
I hope this one goes back to its roots, and that's what I'm thinking when I see Nick Antosca.
I think so.
I mean, why else would they bring someone like that in? They didn't bring in the guys from, what are those guys that made Club Dread? Broken Lizard.
Oh, yeah.
They didn't bring in the Broken Lizard guys,
No, they didn't.
They didn't bring in Seth Rogen.
No, although that would have been dope.
Oh my god, that would be so sick, seeing Seth Rogen in a horror movie.
That would be cool, yeah.
Or even in a TV show.
I hope he is one day, but I digress. So, yeah, it's still kind of cool. Obviously, with Jennifer Tilly in it, we know that we're going to harken back to the original, or at least those movies in some way, but I do anticipate that it's going to be more like rooted in horror.
I think it might.
And very atmospheric and stuff. I hope so. But it does seem like it's going to follow the last movie. And that had, of course, Fiona Dourif, Brad Dourif's daughter, as Nika Pierce, infused with Chucky or whatever. So it'll be interesting, I think. But let's move on now to some trailers here.
Oof.
These were okay, but not the best week of trailers.
Yeah, this is probably... Let's be real, this is probably one of the worst weeks for trailers.
Yeah. There was something I think that came out maybe today, but We picked
Still,
these.
that's not our fault. Nothing
Yeah, I know.
great is coming out.
Yeah. Well, the first one I actually am kind of interested in, just because I like
I watched
sci-fi.
2 different trailers for that.
Oh.
So this one's called The Vast of Night, guys. It's going to be coming out March 13th in theaters and on Prime. And it's centered around a town, and it's sci-fi, since people have been really wanting more sci-fi lately. I think that's what's been lacking a lot in horror.
Yeah.
When's the last sci-fi horror movie, like, seriously box office?
Oh,
hit?
like
big hit.
box.
Like
I'd have to
unintentional.
think about it. Yeah.
Because, I mean, the little sci-fi movies will come out here and there,
Mhm.
like from independent people, but, like, something in theaters I want. I want something to kill it that's sci-fi.
Maybe no, not really. I was gonna say underwater,
X.
but no. I was gonna say underwater, but I don't really think that one qualifies. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, nothing to the level of like Alien or whatever.
No, like, exactly. So I think it's good that they're trying now, but I watched 2 different trailers. One where it was just like one continuous shot, and it went through like the whole city, and it went to like some sort of, I don't know where the fuck it went, to some sort of party, or I don't fucking know.
Okay.
That's where the camera led to. But in the second one, it's obviously aliens.
Oh, okay. The one that I put on there,
Yeah. That one for sure was.
it doesn't really show you anything, which is good.
Yeah. But it's hinted. Like,
Yeah.
if you can't read context clues, then I'm sorry, but it's aliens.
A lot of people can't. Yeah, it does look like there's something for sure going on. I'm interested in the whole like mystery aspect of it. I think that part was pretty cool. It seems like they got the vintage look right, because I think this is also set in the 50s, if I'm not mistaken. It says on the eve of like the great space race, which was around that time. So yeah, I mean, I think it looks cool for that reason. The atmosphere actually looks really good. I think, the whole vibe of like what the trailer offers, I'm into. Like I liked that. So
Oh yeah, it was eerie for sure.
Yeah.
And
just
dark and
mysterious.
But who knows if that's how the show is gonna be shot?
Yeah. I mean,
movie, whatever, how the movie's gonna be shot, or if that's just how the trailer's shot.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, if that's consistent, then I think it'll be pretty cool. And if there's a good like payoff, it can't just be all talking into switchboards and running around town.
Oh yeah.
So I'm kind of excited about that one. Next up, we have this is actually for like a documentary, and it's called The Mothman Legacy. Now this one doesn't have a firm release date yet. There's going to be a Kickstarter, which I think is actually already live. But this one's coming from a little production company called Small Town Monsters, I believe. And they've done some other stuff as well in this same vein. Like they did one about, it was like some Midwestern legend. I think they did one for the Bray Road Beast. I think you've heard of that before. And just like a bunch of other stuff. And it's just like this documentary. They go around asking people about their experiences, and they do some like, reenactment kind of things.
I'd rather see a found footage of Mothman instead of like a documentary. Because like a documentary is just a fake documentary. At least the found footage is like, hey, we were there. Mm-hmm. But the documentary is just like, hey, so you want to talk about Mothman? Like,
right? Yeah.
And it's a fake documentary, so it's like, yeah, I done seen Mothman one time, and it's just some actor.
Yeah,
it would be cool. It would be cool if it was like a real documentary, I guess.
I think that's what it's supposed to be. But it's always hard for me to tell if this is like a real documentary,
or like Leslie Vernon,
or it's not quite like that. I mean, this one presents itself like something you would find on like the Travel Channel,
like
or something.
Savage Land.
So yeah, I think it is supposed to be like a real one, and I think they're supposed to be talking to the people who supposedly had these like experiences and like eyewitnesses. But it's always hard for me to tell if the person in the documentary is actually the person, or if they're still presenting it as a documentary but bringing on somebody to act.
Even if it is a real person, it could just be like clout chasing, like,
well, yeah,
they're just like, hey, I get to be on TV, talk about the Mothman, feed my piggies. Like,
that's very possible. I mean, yeah, so that's the thing. Like, it's like you can't completely trust the interviewee, right? So but at the same time, I'm into like cryptid stuff and cryptozoology, so I'm kind of interested, but I'm not gonna like rush to see this one.
Oh yeah.
The last one, I'm definitely not gonna rush to see, or possibly ever see.
Yeah, I'm probably not gonna watch this one.
This one is
I might. I don't know.
a new Troll movie. Not like the Trolls dolls and stuff, but Troll like the old.
Bro, I tried to type in Trolls World on YouTube, and it gave me so many children's movies, and then I was like, Trolls World minus animated minus whatever.
Yeah. I mean, this one does have some cheesy effects though. So this is basically the follow up to Troll 1 and 2, which were those like so bad it's good type of movies.
This is a sequel to that?
Apparently, yeah.
I don't believe that.
I think so, or at least like associated with it or something. But this one looks even worse than what I've seen of those first two movies. And I guess follows some kind of troll who got turned to stone, I think, or something, and like comes back all this time later and is seeking a body, and there's like some weird book. I don't know.
And the trailer is wild, and it's 100% clearly a comedy.
Yeah.
That does not take itself seriously.
I mean, some of that acting is it has to be intentionally
blatantly atrocious acting.
Yeah. So that's pretty much the vibe in that whole trailer. And I mean, hey, look, if that's what they're doing and they actually pull it off and at least be funny or just super cheesy to the point of being like, this movie is so dumb, but
if
I like
it's anything like Thanksgiving.
Oh yeah, it might be. I don't know. I think it probably has that potential. Like it has those really cheesy effects and stuff. So
or the Ginger Dead Man or Evil Bong.
Yeah.
Yep, this is one of those.
Yep. So maybe not. Unfortunately, there's no release date yet.
Yeah,
but it's coming.
I hope no one dies in a car crash before this movie can be released.
He'll do it. He'll do it for you if you want. No, but that's the end of the news here on this episode, guys. Let us know what you thought about anything that we discussed. But we're gonna
except Trolls World. Don't message me about that shit.
Except Trolls World. Yeah, don't add us. But anything else, feel free. But we're gonna move on to our next segment here in just a bit. But stick around. We've got some messages from some other SRD shows.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Jeremy Bryant. Catch me, E, and Brian on Pearson's Piece, 8 to 9 a.m. on Sports Radio Detroit Network, CRB, on Spotify, iTunes, anywhere else you can find podcasting.
Because I feel like a salad tossing might feel good.
What? Out of Bounds Detroit podcast. Tuesday morning and Friday mornings here on SportsRadioDetroit.com.
And welcome back, fiends. We missed you dearly, and now we're going to get into our main discussion. And I do think this one will be a pretty interesting one. You did touch on it earlier at the beginning of the episode, but I did want to elaborate because the reboots and adaptations and things like that are part of it, but really I thought it would be interesting to talk about these very like familiar stories in horror, right, that get adapted like a lot, even in different ways. And I wanted to kind of think about obviously people are upset a lot about remakes and things like that,
even adaptations.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, even the fact of the matter is that, so in the face of some recent failures, right, particularly in The Turning and then Gretel and Hansel, those movies did not perform well at the box office, and for the most part, were pretty much disliked by the horror community.
Was it for lack of did they stray too far from the source material, or did the source material just not translate well into a movie?
Well, that's not even the thing. These things have been adapted quite a few times, and some of those adaptations were actually pretty successful, right? So my thinking is the fact that there's so much of it and that it comes out so frequently a factor versus whether or not it's really good, or there's a lot to think about for it, because some people did like Gretel and Hansel. It was this very dark, kind of look at the original story, which is also dark. But then you had stuff like that witch hunters shit with Hansel and Gretel, which was obviously different.
Yeah.
But even other adaptations of that story, even in like The Visit, I mean, I would say The Visit kind of mimics that sort of story.
Yeah, I would say so.
And you know, a lot of other kind of movies do too. But for the most part, Gretel and Hansel failed. And that was after so many adaptations. The Turning, I haven't seen either, but is essentially, again, that same story, but just set in more modern times. And I haven't seen that yet either, but I have seen one very successful adaptation of that, which is The Innocents from 1961, which I brought up before. But that movie actually did super well. And since then, there have been other adaptations of The Turn of the Screw, which all this is based off of. And you kind of just have to wonder, like, okay, that movie was very good. There have been other adaptations. This movie comes out now, and like, what's the deal? Why did it like fail so hard? Why did it suck so much?
I heard the ending was tits.
Yeah, and I think some of that comes down to, like, you know, people trying to change things.
Yeah.
You can be faithful to the source, because I think ultimately, you know, what you want to do for like adapting something is actually be faithful to that and take what people kind of thought about in their minds while they were like reading something and put it onto the screen, you know. But then after so many times of adapting the same story, people want to like put a change on it or put a twist on it, because then you're like directly competing with all those other things. And then people are like, well, is there even any point? So that kind of plays into like remakes too. So, I mean, what's your kind of thought about that overall?
I mean, look at The Shining, right? It can be done and done well. Mm-hmm. Even though Kubrick's movie is a super simplistic, watered down version of The Shining. I think it all comes down to changing the source material too much, changing the setting a lot, changing plot points. Changing too much can drastically alter a story from what it originally was supposed to be. And if it was fine how it originally was, if it, let's say a book, right? It did well, everyone loved it, even the ending was great, like no complaints. Why would you take something that was objectively successful and objectively good, that had the fine bullet points it needed, everything was there that was supposed to be there, and someone's like, yo, let's make this into a show or a movie, and then for some reason, let's change critical plot points, let's change some characters, let's change, this is just random, this is just not to any specific story, let's change who the killer was, or let's change this, and let's change that, and all of that was fine to begin with. I think it just seems like not even, I don't think watered down is a word for it. I think it's just like plain out dumb. Like if something was told well, something was written well, or let's say recorded well at an earlier point in time, and then they reboot it, and then they change critical plot points, Black Christmas, it's gonna be ass. Like, I don't know, you can't take something that's already good, like everyone agrees that it's good, and then you, Mr. Douchebag, you're like, well, this is what I think would have been better. I think people just put too much of their egos into these adaptations. I think that's what it is. Too much of themselves. Like, it's not about what you think is cool. It's about what would captivate people more. This ending or my ending? Not let me put this in here because I have a bunch of yes men around me and everyone said it would be a great idea, so I put that in the film. That's why you need to think, what would people want to see? Not even the people at the fucking theaters, the casual moviegoers, because fuck them. But what about the true horror fans? What do they want to see? Are you adding to it or making it hipsterific, as I like to call? Because all these movies have like this hipsterific touch nowadays. Like, well, I think that would have been better hair flip if I did this. I think putting too much of your own personal touch on these things really fucks it up. Even being close to source material can fuck it up if you have like just a bland ass cast with no character development. Sure, you told the story the right way, but I think a lot a lot of these things, these movies and adaptations, like a lack of character development can fucking ruin it if it's just fucking exactly like the book, or exactly like the short story, or exactly like the previous movie. Like, sure, like I said, tell the story, have it flow, but like have shit have meaning. Don't just be like, I'm telling this story just to be a movie, like, because we need this adaptation to just be. Don't fucking spell it all out. Like, Jesus Christ, I don't know what else to say, bro. Like, it seems like everyone's just fucking lazy. I think that's what it stems down to. No one wants to like actually sit down and have their own creative ideas. But how do you expect someone who's doing an adaptation to have creative ideas? He didn't have creative ideas to begin with. That's why he's doing the adaptation.
Yeah, and it's not like, adaptations are bad or, are just automatically defaulted to that or anything. I mean, obviously there have been phenomenal adaptations. The Thing.
That was the first thing that came to both of our heads.
Yeah. Just tons
John
of movies.
Carpenter's
like,
a genius.
True.
A creative genius.
True. But, again, I haven't read, the original story or anything, but I'm assuming it was pretty close to the kind of overall tale that John Carpenter created in, his movie adaptation. But at the same time, I think there was only one other adaptation of that story before that.
Yeah, The Thing from Another World.
Black and white. I mean, that kind of old school production value, way different movies.
Oh yeah.
So The Thing really freaked people the fuck out and was hailed as, well, I mean, originally it wasn't hailed as a masterpiece, but over time became
originally people
a
hated
masterpiece. Yeah. But, again, that's the thing. Like, all right, people probably knew about the story, or, they were just coming down from all those Hollywood productions that really weren't anything like The Thing, but that's a whole other kind of story. But so adaptations can be really good, but now we're getting like The Thing and stuff like that, and people are like, oh, why are you touching The Thing? Why would you ever do that? And I think people have become really attached to those stories. And you brought up an interesting point of like, are you just doing it to just like make the movie and make money, or are you doing it for like horror fans and to actually create a good movie? And like, at least The Turning was definitely more of a Hollywood type horror film. And I don't know what happened at the end, but for the most part it looked like the same story yet again. So it does kind of beckon the question, like, hey, is this even necessary at this point? Haven't you already told this story so many times? And when you do tell the story so many times, if you don't change something, then people are going to think exactly that, and they're going to come out of the movie like, all right, well, yeah, that was cool, but did we really need like a fifth turn of the screw adaptation or whatever?
I mean, look at Dracula.
Yeah, Dracula is like the biggest offender.
We had like the old school Dracula, like super black and white. Then we had Nosferatu.
Well, Nosferatu came first, because that was 1922. And Dracula was 1931.
Oh yeah, in terms of like how like movies.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, Nosferatu was just
Dracula
a ripoff.
Dracula came first.
Yeah,
officially.
but Nosferatu was just a ripoff because they couldn't come up with their own shit, so they just changed a few names and details to the story, and then Nosferatu. This is definitely not Dracula, even though it is. It is.
It is.
I mean, how many Dracula movies are there, bro?
There's a lot. So I was kind of doing some research because I do love Dracula.
Oh yeah.
But I'm also aware that there's so much of it. But there are like 7 Universal Dracula movies, and then there are like 9 Hammer horror Dracula movies, and then there are like so many of these like foreign adaptations.
What about that Paul Naschy guy? Didn't he make some fucking Dracula shit?
I don't know if his was like Dracula, but if he did do a vampire movie, it was probably a ripoff of Dracula.
Yeah.
Because he had like a kind of Wolfman ripoff. I know that much for sure. So, yeah, I mean, all these foreign movies, and of course, like the more modern stuff, Dracula 3000, which I know we don't talk
even
about.
Dracula 2000.
Yeah, even Dracula 2000, yeah. I mean, Argento's Dracula, awful. Awful, sorry, it was.
Now we got the show.
The show. See, okay, so here's the thing, if you change it enough, I think there's 2 ways to go about it. because we kind of established if you have the same story over and over and over again, people are going to want that to be adapted perfectly, or there has to be something different enough about it to set it apart, as long as it's still good and well thought out, So I think either you do something like Dracula Reborn and just change it up so heavily that it's still Dracula, but it's a whole new story, and the movie ultimately was kind of cool, or you just fucking metaphor it and you don't really say like, hey, this is an adaptation of this, but it really is, like, if you look at the context clues and things like that. And I'm thinking actually of an example, which is The Company of Wolves. I finally watched that pretty recently, and it was pretty cool. It was an adaptation of Little Red Riding Hood, but it was way different, and it wasn't like immediately obvious through like the film itself that it was like Little Red Riding Hood, although of course there were like werewolves and there was the Red Hood, but the movie itself was kind of like almost like a mini anthology movie,
Okay.
wrapped up in this whole kind of narrative. And it's about this girl who's dreaming, and she has individual dreams that kind of play out as like different stories, but there's always like a werewolf in them. And it's very like I guess erotic. Like, it's kind of chronicling her going through puberty, and like, there's a lot of like sexual stuff kind of in it. So very much not Little Red Riding Hood, like the original story, but you can still tell that it's inspired by that, or supposed to be like adapted. So that movie was way different enough and was like more of a kind of, I guess, metaphor more or less, but just a very like loose kind of hidden adaptation of that story. So I think those are the two ways that you can kind of like go about it. But Dracula's always like the same fucking thing for the most part.
And Frankenstein is usually the same fucking shit every fucking go around.
Yeah. I mean,
there's a new one, Depraved. I haven't seen it yet.
I heard that one was actually kind of okay. Because with Frankenstein, they've tried to do it multiple ways as well, where they had it like, it was usually set in modern day, but sometimes they would like switch the doctor's name around, and sometimes it would be like really like a completely different atmosphere. And then of course they had that fucking action movie with you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know what you're talking
Thomas
about.
Jane or whatever.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. And that was not an example of like a Dracula Reborn type of thing.
I think it really depends on what people want to make an adaptation out of. If it's like, you saw H.P. Lovecraft, no one really had a problem with that shit.
Yeah.
But even back in the day, all these Stephen King adaptations, people are like, yeah, Stephen King. But nowadays, if there's a Stephen King adaptation, people are like, what the hell? Why would you want to turn that into a movie? Or why would you want to make that into a movie again? We already had, like you said, it's people's attachment to these fucking things, like, and how popular these things are. You think if anyone did like fucking The Pit and the Pendulum, like, anyone would be mad?
Probably not, because I think there was really only like one or two adaptations, and it's not really like super relevant.
And people didn't get attached to them like they do to like Dracula or The Thing. I think not even attachment. I think it's if we've seen it too much, people just don't want it anymore.
Yeah.
And you could tell people, I don't want to see it. Yeah. You could tell people you don't have to see it if you don't want to, but they're still gonna like be like, fuck this.
Yeah, I mean, they feel like it's ruining.
Yeah.
Which is stupid. But at the same
Well, I
time, now,
understand.
I do get it. It's like, it's not going to ruin the original movie for you, but you are familiar with that story, right?
Yeah.
And that source material has been like the standard for you. So it's almost like making a new thing.
It's like destroying your memories or like changing them up.
Yeah. It's almost like it's like an invasion or something. Like, you're afraid that it's going to...
Let's take what happens when you take the original story and change it up just enough. And this one helped really... I mean, people could relate to it because it was like modern day. It's not like the 1980s. People want toys. People want gadgets. So Child's Play, for example. They changed it up just enough to where it was an okay movie and an okay idea.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't like fantastic or anything, but you know, people are scared of AI and robots, and that works. But look at the Freddy remakes. Speaking of it, since it's on Netflix now.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Yeah. So, well, see, that's the thing. It's like
They didn't change up the story. They just changed up what happens in the movie. That's it.
his background, basically.
Well, and the fact that in this one he's a pedophile, but in the old one he originally wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Wes Craven wanted him to be, but because of the stuff going on in California at the time, people would have been like, "Oh, you're exploiting that," blah blah blah. But originally he was just a Springwood slasher. He was a child killer. And this one they're like, "Oh, he's a pedophile. Nancy's different. She's not like seeing him at school, dragging bodies through the hallways,
Yeah.
scratching on fucking pipes to make that weird claw sound. It was different. Like, none of that stuff even got brought back up. Same thing like in the Friday the 13th remake. Same brutal Jason, different attributes. He fucking sprints like a fucking,
Yeah.
like Usain Bolt. He's fucking throwing axes. He's human, but he's a monster. He's ruthless. I know I'm saying fucking a lot, but I'm very passionate about this fucking subject.
Yeah.
And let's look at another adaptation that was actually really good, because every movie of this is always a mystery. It's a whodunit. Let's look at Scream.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So every movie was like a whodunit, and it's always someone new. So you kind of don't get bored. You're just kind of waiting to see, like, you know, the reasoning behind it.
Yeah.
But in the TV show, new Ghostface has nothing to do with Ghostface. At least the first season. Not the original Ghostface, that is. And they don't call him Ghostface like they do in the urban Scream. But that's another conversation. But this one, it was still good. It was a revenge thing. Someone was killing teenagers, and he was calling them, and they didn't know who it was. Like, and you were just dying to find out. Every episode got closer and closer. Hints. And then when you finally find out, you're like, oh, it was that person? And then you're like, Freddy Krueger, Dracula, Chucky, Jason.
It's always the same thing.
It's always the same thing. There's no, like, mystery to it. But with Scream, it's Wes Craven's a genius, because he made it like, he turned it into a franchise that can always have a sequel, and it's always someone else. It's never the same shit.
Yeah.
Or the same reason.
Unless Sydney dies, I guess. But you're
Yeah.
right. I mean, I think that part of that is because even though the formula is more or less kind of the same in each movie, it has a natural progression, right? Each sequel kind of relies on what happened in the movie before it to kind of feed it and things like that. But for the most part, with like Freddy, Jason, I guess Halloween kind of, but yeah, less so. Maybe with like the recent adaptations.
Yeah, it's different.
But all those movies, like you said, it's basically you take the character, you put it in a new place, but the actual like story and everything is pretty much the same.
Yeah.
And so I love what Scream did. I mean, I hope that there's a Scream 5, and I hope it still, progresses. But if we ever see like a flat out Scream remake of like the first movie, at that point, I think it might feel like it's a bit, too much almost.
It is, yeah.
So I don't know. It's a very interesting kind of phenomenon, but definitely, I think at least the more and more you see these same kind of stories, even with the little differences here and there, it becomes harder and harder to want to watch them. Like even the two movies that are kind of the focal points just because of their box office bombs, The Turning and Gretel and Hansel, like I was gonna go see it, but I'm also not like, oh my God, I gotta see Gretel and Hansel,
Yeah.
So I guess that's at least how I feel about it. But if there's something like Lock and Key that comes out that has never really been adapted before,
It's been released, hasn't it?
it is out.
I saw it
now,
on
yeah.
Netflix, yeah.
It's out. But that started as a graphic novel, and this is the first, I think, real adaptation of it. So that is kind of exciting. But if we continue to see more and more adaptations of this same story down the road, then at that point it's just going to become weird. and too convoluted because people are going to feel like they have to change something in order to be different enough just to justify that movie's own existence, basically, you know? So I'm not really trying to just be like, do your own shit and be original, but I kind of am.
I think they should. I mean, imagine if they restarted Hellraiser or fucking Psycho. Can you imagine? Like, not even Bates Motel, like something like, here's another remake of Psycho. Forget that shitty Vince Vaughn one.
This one has bald Vince Vaughn.
Or let's say even The Exorcist.
Yeah.
Or The Fog. Oh god, The Fog was so bad.
The remake, yeah.
Oh my god, why would they do that?
I don't know.
Or Rocky Horror Picture Show. I was cool with Creepshow though.
Yeah.
Creepshow is something different every single time. Here's a new story. It's like, bring back Creepshow. That's fine. Just give us more good stories. Yeah, that's the only one that makes. Jaws, fuck you. And now they're doing Pumpkinhead again.
Jaws is like even worse because what the fuck are you gonna do for like a 4th or 5th movie or like another reboot in a row?
I'd be cool with Reanimator.
That could be fun. I mean, see, that at least is something that is so 80s.
Yeah.
That to make it now would probably be a completely different movie.
It would, yeah.
You know, so that and the fact that, you know, that was really the only adaptation of that. Yeah, you had the sequels, but those had their own kind of progression too. So I think it might be interesting to see a modern adaptation of that. But when you brought up Lovecraft before, I was going to say, you know, those, again, are not stories that we see all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Especially because it's a lot of different stories.
Not like Dracula or fucking...
Yeah.
The Stand, let's say. I don't know.
But you know, if H.P. Lovecraft only ever fucking made The Call of Cthulhu or The Color Out of Space or something, it probably would have already been adapted like 12 times.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, if I saw another announcement that was announcing another remake of one of those, I'd be like, fuck this, man. And I'd be mad at H.P. Lovecraft. I'm mad at Bram Stoker, dude. It's like you had to make like one thing, literally just one thing that was so good that now we're just getting shoved down our throats.
I think even the people that aren't mad about stuff being released, like Dracula and like all that stuff being released, they're not mad, they're just kind of sick of it.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, imagine a movie. Oh god, imagine, let's say, here's another Insidious movie, here's a new Conjuring movie, here's another Paranormal Activity since it's been a minute.
That's why every time we bring it up, we're like, ugh.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, sure, they're good movies, but like, fuck, they're only good movies in the sense that the first time you watched it, you're like, fuck, that was awesome. And then everyone starts talking about it, and like, it's literally like, oh, this is the greatest horror movie. And it's like, all right, slow down. Like, I said it was really good, and everyone's just dick riding it, and it's just, oh. And
that's really only just the first.
I don't want to sound like a hipster,
first
but
couple
like,
movies.
Once everyone starts like, bro, it's so good, they should make like 11 more. And I'm like, oh god, here we go with the fucking jump scare palooza. I think a lot of older movies though would benefit from being remade, because Fright Night was great. I enjoyed it, honestly. Fright Night was pretty good.
Yeah.
Friday the 13th I liked. What else did I like? I don't like that much.
I mean, Friday the 13th, I think, is really kind of on the fence.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre, that's another one that was...
2003?
Yes,
yeah.
with Jessica Biel. That one was amazing.
I know we mentioned that we were going to come back to that before, so I'll briefly say, I mean, that one, I think, was effective.
It was, yes.
Even after all the other TCM movies.
Mm-hmm.
But then, you know, once we started getting like 3D and Leatherface and all that shit, at that point, it's like... And they are pretty much telling the same story, but just changing those small details. And so at that point, you're like, is this even really fucking necessary?
And I don't think it is.
Because you're just telling the TCM, you know, 70s movie story, and changing his last name and giving him some stupid psycho daughter or something. So that's the thing. It's like I know that these movies are going to be made anyway, because you people, anybody, everybody keeps putting money toward it in one way or another. Even you people who are like, well, I'm not going to go see it, but then you go buy the fucking Blu-ray anyway, you're still directly supporting that stuff. So if you don't want to see more adaptations of things you've seen 5 million times, you just don't pay for it.
Or just watch it on bootleg if you don't want to fucking support
them.
If
you're really like, well, I guess I got to check it out, you know, to see how bad it is, then sure, you can do that, I guess. Not that I'm advocating for it, but it's
No, I
an
don't.
option.
You know me. I have every movie that I've wanted. I'm like, you know
Mhm.
what? I want to watch that. Let's grab the physical media. It's like, you sure you don't want to just rent it from Prime? If I'm gonna pay money, I might as well keep
Yeah.
whatever I'm watching.
But it's inevitable, right? At this point, because people are probably gonna keep putting money toward those movies anyway.
Oh yeah.
So, my philosophy, as I think I've said before, is like, well, if you can't really stop it from coming out, if it's good, I'll at least, appreciate that, and I'll admit that. It doesn't necessarily mean that it still should have come out, but if it's good, okay.
I don't think the movie being at least okay is. I don't think that justifies it being remade.
No.
Like if it gets remade, I want to be like, wow, like I did with Stephen King's It. I don't want to be like, oh,
Yeah.
well, congrats.
No,
What the
get
fuck?
it, yeah. No, it has to reach that certain standard for sure. Because otherwise, it's just another fucking one in the pile.
I want to talk about one that was really great.
Okay.
Night of the Living Dead, 1990, Tom Savini.
Yeah.
Hella underrated, hella under the radar. And I think it's because people didn't want to accept, that it was being remade because of like the black and white one.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, arguably, the Dawn of the Dead remake was better.
Then Savini's. I mean,
No, the Dawn of the Dead remake
than
was
the
better
original?
than than
I
the
mean,
original.
the original is weird. I mean, I understand the significance of the original and everything, but I would tend to agree in a lot of parts.
Yeah.
There were some things about the 04 one that I wasn't like the biggest fan of, but for the most part, it was sick. I mean, the zombies were actually scary in that one.
Oh yeah,
So
they weren't just people with pale face makeup, But
Yeah.
let's be real though. In Dawn of the Dead, people were getting
that,
like
green
their
poo
arm
makeup.
flesh ripped off with teeth and stuff like that. That shit was horrific.
Yeah, but I know I do agree. I mean, I did like the 90s Night of the Living Dead remake actually. So but that was a story again that has been told so many times and referenced so many times and stuff. But that one was good. I mean, Tom Savini's a horror connoisseur and master, so I'm not surprised. But yeah, I can appreciate that. But the more that we see stuff like Dracula, the more that we see stuff like another Frankenstein,
No.
and all of those things, it's like even like The Haunting of Hill House at this point is almost becoming too dense with shit.
The 80s had so many low budget and independent, like cult favorite movies that aren't even being thought of being remade or like being rebooted. But I think a lot of them could be like super awesome fucking movies modern day.
Yeah.
And it's kind of shitty that, the diehard fans be like, no, don't remake this movie. I love this movie. This is my baby. Like,
Yeah.
there's a lot of stuff that was made in the 80s, guys, that was objectively ass but has charm to it.
Mm-hmm.
That could be made well if put into the hands of someone who's passionate about the subject. Don't let Blumhouse touch it.
Yeah, no.
I think Ghost House Pictures,
Yeah.
they
they're-
make some really good shit. Raimi's dope, so like
Mhm.
I think he could like do a lot of, because he was around for the 80s too on top of it. So I think he could as a producer, if he has some like, if he can direct them as well, like give them some like inspiration and like tell them, no, I didn't like that scene, or yes, I like that. I think he could give them good direction.
Yeah. I mean, it really does depend, because
Even Carpenter.
yeah, no, there's so many filmmakers that could do it for sure, but it does depend on the material. I think, it's just so much easier to pitch another Freddy or another
It is, of
Jason
course.
because you're guaranteed to make money off of it. But agreed. I mean, I think something like even like Demon Wind or some shit or like The Slayer or something, one of those really obscure things. Well, Hell Night. I don't know.
Oh yeah, that would be awesome.
Those would be cool if they were done like really well, if they had that good atmosphere to it, that good production design, and they were treated with love. They could be cool, and it's not like you're seeing that same story for the 10th time.
Exactly.
So it still kind of feels fresh. And those movies are obscure enough too, to where like the general audience will be like, what's this? I have no idea what Hell Night is about.
Exactly.
And then that's a little more interesting.
Oh, it's an 80s movie? Never really watched 80s movies, but if they were anything like this movie, I think I'd like them. And ta-da, you got a new 80s horror fan.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's a good direction to go in, I think. Also, just more original movies. I mean, I think the big stuff right now is going to slowly start getting more into that territory, especially with like Parasite winning and things like that. Not really a horror movie, but
Still.
probably the closest thing that the Best Picture category had to horror. And now there's like, I think I saw today there was an announcement that there was like a 400% ticket like sales spike of that movie, and that's insane. So
That's wild. What the fuck?
Midsummer, Hereditary, even the Lighthouse has some influence, but it's not a direct adaptation of anything. So I think we need more movies like that as well.
I agree.
You know, so that's pretty much all that I have to say about this. I think we covered a lot. And I think we got the general kind of point across and discussed the topic really pretty thoroughly. So yeah, I mean, I love Dracula, you know, I love TCM and all that stuff.
But stop it. Stop it.
Yeah.
If you're going to do something that hasn't been done before. If you want to be like a lazy, non-creative fuck, grab something from the 80s, like Barnabas was saying. Grab a Hell Night. That could be done amazingly nowadays. Especially with the right cast of like teenagers that you wish would fucking die. Stop putting yourself in these movies. Stop putting what you think is a better ending, and start thinking like, yo, what would the audience think about this ending? What would so-and-so, what would diehard horror fans think? What would casuals think? What would be a good all-around ending? And just stop doing like the same old shit. No more Dracula. You've had enough. Stop doing Stephen King shit. Literally everywhere. Everything Stephen King is being like made into a movie. Like, calm the fuck down. Hold your horses. I haven't said that since the 90s when I was like 5. But hold your fucking horses, all right?
I say that all the time.
Yeah, good. I know the present sucks so much. People want to retreat back into the past, the good old times, whatever, but nostalgia is biased. Nostalgia is biased, and it makes you fucking look hopeless. Like there's no creativity left. Not just in Hollywood, but in all of horror. Like, it's kind of fucking sad, dude. It's pathetic. Like, and sure, I can talk from the outside all I want, but I've been watching this shit since I was a kid, and growing up, there was always a new movie. When Saw came out, that was a new thing, and all these movies like that were coming out when I was growing up. Like, there's been good movies throughout the 2000s that were original ideas. Dead Silence, Insidious, Conjuring. That's when we were growing up. But now people are just taking that shit and they're just like, we never want to leave this. That's how we got to that point in horror cinema. Those movies being made because of people constantly putting out new ideas. So if you want to retreat back into the past, back into those movies, back into shit that's been done thousands of times, like fucking Dracula, if you want to keep retreating into that, how are we going to find the next Conjuring, the next Insidious, the next Saw, the next Halloween, the next Nightmare on Elm Street? We'll never find it. That's why the 80s was so good. It was all creative shit. And yeah, that's why it was the golden era. You want a new golden era? Stop remaking shit. Stop rebooting shit. Start creating shit. Stop recreating shit. That's not creating. You're not a found again fucking Jesus freak. You are a fucking, this is Hollywood, for God's sake. This is horror cinema. Stop it, dude. Like, you want my advice? You want advice from Mr. Scratch himself? If you want more money, Hollywood, if you want more money and more people watching your shit, make better original shit. You have creative teams who you pay millions to write these movies that even the hipsters at Rotten Tomatoes don't like.
Yeah.
So what the fuck?
I mean, look at it this way, Robert Eggers, Ari Aster, Jordan Peele. I mean, all of A24 pretty much, and all those guys are putting out really original shit.
Exactly.
However, there are filmmakers out there who have made really good things that are getting roped into like doing all these adaptations and shit now, like even Fede Alvarez with the TCM. It's like, I know that he's not directing or writing or whatever, but even the fact that his name is attached to this now, and even shit like with Jordan Peele and Candyman, people were up in arms about that. Well, why is he redoing Candyman?
Coattail writing. People just want those names attached. to bring eyes in.
Yeah. So, that's not really, I know I use Jordan Peele in kind of both ends right there, but that's just kind of the point. It's like, we need you guys to be thinking about these really creative, really good new ideas, because when those things come out, those are cemented in horror history, but it doesn't mean that you have to have a fucking franchise.
And then there's these ideas that, everything's been done before. Has it?
Yeah.
Has it?
No.
Was there a flying half demon, half angel with leukemia that only survives off baby livers? No, go make that movie.
Yeah.
Imagine how terrifying that would be.
That would be fucking
Babies
awful.
just being eaten on screen.
I'm just imagining like a flying unnameable.
Yeah.
Basically.
That's what
that
I was
would be
thinking.
insane. Yeah, with the
She
hoods and
had
everything.
wings.
Yeah, but she never like flew or anything, I don't think, right?
She did, I think.
In the second one?
Yeah, in the second
Oh,
one.
okay. Not like the first one.
First one, no. She just kind of like plodded around the house. Unnameable. Thank God that's never been touched. That is the most underappreciated creature feature of all time.
That's why I'm almost like, I don't really want to see another Night Flyer or anything like that.
No.
Either, because if it just gets diluted with these stupid new changes and all this modern shit, then it's just gonna like, it's not gonna ruin the original movie. And it's not gonna ruin my thought about it. In fact, I might look at the original like, wow, I love you. You're so good. I hate that stupid remake. Me at Nightmare on Elm Street. But, it's not going to ruin that, but at the same time, it's like, do I really need to see this yet again after Bram Stoker's Dracula. Okay, that should have been the cusp of Dracula right there. Did we really need more Dracula after that? Probably not.
Bro, we've had so many.
But we've had so many. So that's my whole point. Not even my point, just that's the whole discussion in a nutshell right there for me.
I think after a while, but they will always sell the rights to any movie. I think after a while, it should just be illegal. Like, by law. Like, morally,
Yeah.
like, just fucking misconstrued to be able to make a remake. I think Dracula shouldn't be touched anymore. I think we could give Freddy another go. Jason deserves a go. Michael deserves to keep going. We got the Child's Play TV show. Let's keep that going. Scream. Please, no more TV show. I'm done. Give us new movies. Don't remake it. The Thing. I once again do not think they should have. I mean, because you got Thing from Another World, then John Carpenter's classic, and then that 2011 movie. What the hell was that? And now they're doing another adaptation. Chill out.
Yeah.
I don't think Pumpkinhead needs more movies. They ruined it with those sci-fi movies. The Exorcist. Just don't touch that. You know why? Because we've seen too many modern possession movies. We don't need any more. Especially with the name The Exorcist attached to it. That'll just... If The Exorcist remake pales in comparison to these modern day possession movies, then the original is still going to be intact, but they're still going to be like, yo, what was the point in making this?
Wasn't there like a... Sorry to cut you off, but wasn't there like an Exorcist TV show?
Yeah.
Who the fuck even watched that? Did anybody care about that at all?
I started watching it, and their exorcisms are weird. So
I haven't heard anything.
When people are possessed, they like fucking... They give them these like... This exorcism, and they're telling them, fallen angel, the Lord forgives you. Like, they're like being really positive with the demon.
Oh, okay.
And it's really dumb.
No, I cast you back to hell, demon.
Yeah,
That's how it should be.
You sick son of a bitch.
Oh, man.
Go back to hell where you belong.
Talking about mothers and stuff. I mean, that's it right there. I don't know, dude. My original thing going into this was just, you look at those movies that just bombed, and it's like, we've seen this story so many times, and after so many times, it's just, I think a lot of people just didn't even have any interest. That's the thing. Like, it's not just that it was bad, which I'm sure they were pretty bad, but it's just like, well, I don't need to see another fucking Hansel and Gretel movie, If Hansel comes in riding on a fucking T-Rex, and that T-Rex shoots a laser beam at the witch's house, I'll watch that movie.
Yep.
Sure. Any day. But I don't really need to see another
It just
Hansel and
sucks.
Gretel.
Like, I'm just sitting here like, damn, when's the lawsuit over? We can finally bring Jason back. And they're like, hey, you want Hansel and Gretel? What? Who the fuck are you? We're releasing Hansel and Gretel. No, I don't want that. Well, it's here.
Too bad.
What? The fuck kind of shit is that? What if I just made Clifford the Big Red Dog a horror movie?
I would watch
Actually,
it.
that would be awesome. See, I have good ideas.
watch
You guys suck. You Hollywood, you're fucking trash. And they do all those drugs. How can you not? How can you do drugs and then not just sit there and be like, "Yo, cross kicker"? You know what I mean? You remember Night of the Demons too? How can you just sit there and not think? You're supposed to be creative geniuses getting paid millions. We have better ideas, and we're just sitting here.
I don't think all the cocaine makes them more creative, though. I think it just fucking amps them up to do more adaptations.
Yeah. Now that I'm focused, how about this? We remake, right? The Grudge.
Ooh,
Didn't that just
what
come out
about-
in the 2000s?
What about A Christmas Carol, but scary?
Yeah.
Even that, I'm like, do we really fucking need another?
It's like they have a
Christmas
bunch of teenagers fucking writing their shit.
Yeah. So anyway, guys, that's all I want to say about it personally, because we're running out of time here. Do you want to say anything else?
No, fuck remakes, fuck adaptations. If you're gonna make them, make it some shit we haven't seen, or just be fucking original. Make your own shit. Stop fucking. Oh, here's the book. I gotta make it a movie. Because Bird Box, the movie was ass.
Yeah.
So stop it.
I mean, that's not like a story that we've seen a bajillion times, but that was just bad.
Feels like I've had.
Feels like it, yeah. I think part of that is just due to like all the online discourse about it, but
Yeah.
But anyway, obviously this is a bigger topic, and I'm sure that a lot of you have a lot of feelings about it.
We'll continue it someday.
For sure we will, because I'm sure that this won't stop, in one way or another. So I'm sure we'll come back and talk about it, of course, but you can hit us up on Facebook and Instagram at Grave Discussions, or on Twitter at GraveDiscSRD. Shoot us some messages, talk to us. We always love to do that with you guys. And then you can check out gravediscussions.net as well for all the latest stuff. And yeah, that's going to do it here for episode 94, Fiends.
And at the end of next month, we'll have episode 100. So tune in to see the episodes leading up to that one on Wave Discussion. Don't reboot us.
This has been an SRD production.